Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to have financial control while others continue to struggle? They're not geniuses and they don't have any secret tricks up their sleeves. But there is one thing they do differently. They know how to invest in the fundamentals. In this video, you'll discover the best investment strategy for 2025, one that even millionaire investors are using. There are no complicated secrets, just simple, effective steps. You'll definitely want to learn more. Click to watch now and find out why simplicity is the key to building lasting wealth. Strategy 1. Optimize cash flow. I used to think, as long as I earn more, everything will be fine. But it turns out wealth doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from how you manage, organize, and protect every dollar you have. One of the serious problems I used to face, and I know many people are struggling with this, is not knowing exactly where my money was going. Each month, I spent freely until my account was about to run dry, only to wait for payday to continue the cycle. There were even times when I opened my banking app, saw a few $100s left, and told myself, I'm fine, I still have money. But the truth was, I wasn't fine. I had no concrete plan for my cash flow. And I wasn't alone. Many people around me, from office workers to small business owners, live this way. They spend based on feeling, on their remaining account balance, or on their credit card limit. They don't realize that this lack of clarity in managing money is the reason they can't break free from the earn more, spend it all lifestyle. I realized that if I didn't know exactly where each dollar was going, how could I possibly improve my situation? That's when I learned the first thing rich people always do, a simple habit but incredibly effective. Track every penny spent for at least 60 days. I decided to try it. First, I used the Rocket Money app, then switched to Yanab, You Need a Budget, for a deeper look at my financial habits. Some people prefer Monarch Money for its user-friendly interface, while others stick with their personal Excel sheets. Whatever works, as long as you do it daily, mindfully. When I tracked my spending closely, I was shocked to realize I was spending $200 a month on takeout coffee, plus a few hundred more on delivery food just because I was too lazy to cook. Those seemingly small expenses were silently draining my wallet without me even noticing. I started cutting back, not in an extreme way that would ruin my enjoyment of life. I still drank coffee, still ate well, but now I had a plan. I found ways to save an extra 10 to 15% of my income each month just by cutting out unnecessary expenses and renegotiating a few services I rarely used. And then I noticed something interesting. The interest rates on savings were the highest they've been in over 20 years. Ally Bank was offering 4.2%. Wealthfront was at 5%. Robinhood Gold was even higher. Money market funds were offering over 5%, a nearly unbelievable number compared to just a few years ago. I began to act. I followed the strategy of Graham Stephan, a well-known investor and financial YouTuber who keeps about 20% of his financial portfolio in high-interest savings accounts, money market funds, and short-term bonds. He calls it his Sleep Well Fund, a place where money is not only safe but also grows steadily while you make long-term investment plans. It's not money for impulse spending. It's a financial cushion, peace of mind amid life's unpredictable ups and downs. I also started building my own Sleep Well Fund. It began with just a few $100s, then a few thousand, and I was surprised at how much less anxious I felt. No more worrying about running out of money halfway through the month. No more anxiety when the car broke down or an unexpected medical bill arrived. Optimizing cash flow isn't about working harder. It's about being more conscious with every spending decision. Look at successful people like Warren Buffett. He's not a lavish spender. On the contrary, he's lived in the same house he bought back in 1958 and eats at modest restaurants. This doesn't mean he's stingy. It shows that successful people truly understand the value of every dollar, and they don't spend money to prove anything to others. And you can do that too. Optimizing cash flow isn't a complicated task. It starts with a simple action: opening an app, recording every expense, and seeing the full picture of your own finances. You can't control what you don't measure, and you can't achieve financial freedom if you don't understand where your money is going each day. Now that I know how to manage cash flow effectively and I've built my own financial cushion, I started asking myself, how can I grow that money over time instead of letting it sit idly in my account? That's when I entered the next chapter, where the truly wealthy begin to play a different game, smart investing with a long-term strategy. Are you ready to step into the next phase? The next strategy in my journey to master money is learning how to manage debt. I remember a time when every month my salary seemed to slip away in the blink of an eye because I had to pay off interest on credit cards, car loans, and personal loans. And I wasn't alone. According to the latest data, the average American is carrying more than $22,000 in consumer debt, from credit cards to personal loans, each quietly eating away at their income every day. Debt isn't bad if you control it, but when you let it grow uncontrollably, it becomes an invisible chain that binds all your financial dreams. I learned a simple yet incredibly sharp principle from Benjamin Graham, the legendary investor and Warren Buffett's mentor. If the interest rate on your debt is higher than the safe return on investment, prioritize paying off the debt. Conversely, if the debt interest rate is low, you can pay it off slowly while using any idle money to invest and create greater value. It sounds simple, but applying it in real life requires an unforgiving discipline. I sat down and made a list of all the debts I had: credit card at 18% interest rate, personal loan at 11%, and car loan at 5%. I realized high-interest debts like credit cards, if not dealt with immediately, are like a black hole for my finances. Money just keeps disappearing without leaving anything behind. So, how do I get out of it? I researched and applied 2 effective debt repayment methods that top financial advisors in the U.S. often recommend. The first method is Avalanche: pay off the highest interest rate debts first. This means I focus all my resources on paying off the highest interest debts first while making minimum payments on other debts. In theory, this will help me save the most money on interest in the long run. The second method is Snowball: pay off the smallest debt first. In this approach, I focus on completely paying off the smallest debt first. Once it's done, I feel a powerful psychological boost, like winning a small battle, which drives me to continue tackling the next debt. I'll never forget Dave Ramsey, the famous personal finance expert in the U.S., who has helped millions of Americans get out of debt, always emphasizing this snowball method. He believes that psychological victory is more important than financial victory on the debt repayment journey. For large debts with sky-high interest rates, I use the Avalanche method to reduce interest costs. For smaller debts, I use Snowball to keep my motivation up and avoid giving up halfway. For example, I focused on quickly clearing off the credit card debt with an 18% interest rate. When that was gone, I felt as if I had just removed a heavy rock off my shoulders. Then I focused on solving the smaller personal loan, which was just a few $1,000s. Each time I paid off a debt, I felt like I was slowly regaining the freedom I had once lost. The most important thing I learned isn't about choosing which method to use. The key is you have to stick with it. You have to be as persistent as water carving away at stone, continuously and without pause. It's similar to the story of Howard Schultz, who turned Starbucks from a small brand into a global coffee empire. Schultz grew up in poverty, witnessing his father struggle with medical debt. That memory drove him to not only build Starbucks as a brand, but also to design a benefit system for employees, helping them avoid falling into the same debt spiral his family once faced. The lesson that stuck with me is this: managing debt isn't just about managing money, it's about managing life. Every debt cleared not only frees up your finances, but also frees your mind, allowing you to focus your energy on bigger, loftier goals. My debt repayment journey wasn't easy. There were months when I had to cut back on little pleasures. There were nights I wondered, am I on the right path? But every small step forward was worth it. Because in the end, financial freedom doesn't come from a lottery win or a lucky investment deal. It's built from small, right decisions made consistently every day. It's like building a house. Each small brick, each patient hammer strike, each hour spent in the dark without seeing the light but refusing to give up. And you know what? When I paid off that last debt, the feeling, freedom, lightness, strength, no luxury item in the world can buy that. We're getting closer now. Once debt no longer occupies space in your mind, you'll see the door of opportunity begins to open. In the next section, I'll share how I used the surplus cash after paying off debt to build a smart investment system, starting with the simplest first steps. And trust me, that journey will be even more exciting.
Strategy 3. Long-term investment. After gradually breaking free from the burden of debt with clear and consistent strategies, I realized that true financial freedom doesn't just come from paying off debt. It also comes from proactively preparing for the future. And one of the smartest ways to do that is through long-term investment. I started with something that might seem small but holds enormous power over time, opening a tax-advantaged retirement account, a Roth IRA. You can think of a Roth IRA as a financial time machine, where every dollar you deposit today quietly grows over the years, and no one can touch the profits, not even the government. Every year, I make it a point to contribute the maximum allowed, which is currently $7,000. Does that sound like a lot? But imagine if you consistently invest from the age of 20 until 65, with an average return of just 8% per year, you could accumulate over $3.1 million. And the best part is, you won't pay a single cent in taxes on that profit. I often think about the story of Warren Buffett, the legendary American investor who began his investing journey as a young boy selling newspapers. Buffett's magic wasn't in flashy deals, but in allowing his wealth to grow over decades through compound interest. And you can do the same if you start now. What's important to note is that the Roth IRA is only available to those with an income under $161,000 a year if filing as an individual. For most people who are in the process of building their careers, this is an opportunity not to be missed. I constantly remind myself, don't wait until your finances are stable to invest in the future, because time is the most powerful ally you can have. Much like Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, who always prioritized security and customer experience from the early days when Amazon was just an online bookstore, we must also understand that investing in personal safety is never a waste. I know that on the journey to building financial freedom, there will be moments when we're tempted by shortcuts. The promises of get rich quick are always alluring, but only patience, long-term preparation, and smart protection will allow us to reach our destination without paying a heavy price. I chose to plant small seeds every day, patiently water and nurture them, and trust that one day those seeds would blossom into a flourishing garden, a garden of freedom, safety, and prosperity. You can start that journey today. It only takes one small decision. Open a Roth IRA, protect yourself with a reliable VPN tool, and proceed step by step. Don't let the difficulties ahead stop you from seeing the bigger picture of the future. Because the truth is, great things rarely come from hasty actions, but are built through consistent, steady, patient actions, just like how small bricks form a solid fortress. Strategy 4. Choosing the right investment strategy. On my journey to building financial stability, after I had started long-term investing and protected my digital assets, I realized saving alone isn't enough. To truly achieve sustainable finances, I needed to learn how to invest smartly. It's not just about making profits, but the art of managing risk and protecting what I've worked so hard to build. I started with a simple but incredibly important principle: diversify my investment portfolio. I once heard an impressive saying, "Never put all your eggs in one basket," and history has proven this true. Imagine if I put all my money into one single stock, one single sector. Just one sudden fluctuation and all my efforts could disappear in an instant. The lessons from history are still there, silently but powerfully warning us.
The dot-com bubble in the early 2000s, when tech companies were inflated to sky-high prices, only to burst and crash the Nasdaq by over 78%. Or the 2008 housing crisis that wiped out 50 to 70% of real estate and related stocks. And more recently, the collapse of the cryptocurrency market, with a steep decline of up to 99%, serving as a wake-up call for those who placed all their bets on one gamble. I learned to allocate my money across various asset classes: stocks, bonds, real estate, even gold. Each type of asset reacts differently to economic fluctuations, and this diversity serves as a shield against major shocks. Looking at successful entrepreneurs like Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater Associates, the world's largest hedge fund, I became even more convinced. Dalio has always emphasized portfolio diversification, never relying on a single prediction. This strategy has helped him navigate through numerous financial crises over his 40-year career. However, I had to remind myself, don't be greedy. Don't fall into the illusion that I can beat the market. When I first started, I eagerly searched for the golden stocks, thinking that if I picked the right ones, I'd quickly become wealthy. But after several failures, I realized a harsh truth. Even professional investment funds with teams of seasoned financial experts find it very difficult to outperform the market's average return over the long term. I remember once, Warren Buffett, the legendary billionaire admired by the world, wrote in a letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders, "Most investors, whether individuals or institutions, should simply invest in a low-cost index fund." He proved this with a 10-year bet, claiming that an S&P 500 index fund would outperform 5 expensive hedge funds selected by experts, and he won hands down. That lesson completely changed how I approach investing. Instead of trying to predict the market, I chose to invest in index funds, specifically the S&P 500 index fund. It's a simple choice, low cost, with diversified risk, and it consistently provides stable returns averaging around 8% per year. No need to predict whether the market will go up or down. No need to stress every time financial news flashes. I just need to stay consistent and let time do the rest. Looking back, I realized that I was building a solid fortress on a firm foundation rather than gambling with fleeting waves. And I was not alone. People like Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard Group and the father of index funds, left behind a remarkable legacy for millions of small investors like me, helping them achieve financial freedom without having to become market analysis experts. If you find yourself overwhelmed by the multitude of investment options, remember this: simplicity, discipline, and patience are the keys that open the door to prosperity. Start with small, steady steps on the long road. Don't let short-term volatility derail you. And never gamble your entire financial future on a promise of quick returns. I believe that if you dare to lay a solid foundation today, the future will reward you in ways you never imagined. Ultimately, when I look back on my financial journey, I realize that success doesn't come from doing complicated or breakthrough things. It comes from persistence and discipline in mastering the basics. It's about the small decisions you make every day, those slow but steady steps, each time choosing to do what's right. To achieve financial freedom, the first step I took was managing my cash flow effectively. I used to ignore saving, thinking money would always come. But when faced with significant debt and high interest rates, I realized I had to change my approach to money management immediately. I started with simple things: budgeting, cutting unnecessary expenses, and saving every month. You've probably heard the story of Dave Ramsey, a renowned financial expert in the United States. Ramsey has helped millions of people get out of debt and achieve financial freedom. His advice is clear. To overcome the burden of debt, the first thing you need to do is pay off high-interest debts as soon as possible. Only once you've reduced those debts can you think about achieving financial freedom and investing for the future. For every dollar I saved, I set aside a small portion to pay down debt. I kept at it, even when it felt like I was walking in the dark. But with each debt paid off, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Only after paying off high-interest debts could I even begin to think about investing in other financial opportunities. The next step was investing in a Roth IRA, an incredibly useful financial tool that allowed me to accumulate wealth safely and effectively. A Roth IRA lets me invest in index funds and enjoy tax-free growth when I withdraw funds after many years. This gave me peace of mind about the future, knowing I wouldn't have to worry about taxes on the money I accumulated. But there was another critical factor: diversifying my investment portfolio. You've surely heard stories about brilliant investors, those who always emphasize the importance of spreading risk. Warren Buffett, one of the most famous investors in the world, always advises, never put all your eggs in one basket. And I took that advice to heart. I didn't put all my money into one stock or asset. Instead, I spread it across different sectors. This helped me reduce risk and created a stable income stream in the long run. For those of you struggling to find financial security, let me share this. There is nothing overly complicated about building a strong financial future. You don't need to be an investment expert or have a vast amount of money. These basics, managing cash flow, paying off high-interest debt, investing in Roth IRAs, and diversifying your portfolio, will guide you to financial success, as long as you have patience and discipline. In fact, you don't need to make things complicated. I've realized for myself that achieving financial success doesn't come from finding a perfect strategy or some trick. What matters most is discipline. Discipline in saving every day, discipline in spending wisely, discipline in making smart investments, and more importantly, perseverance. Results don't come right away, but when you consistently take the right steps, the results will come, guaranteed. When I look back at my journey, I see that those small, steady steps have brought me to where I am today. And if I can do it, so can you. You just need to start today, not to search for a complicated solution, but to simply do the most basic things, day after day. Finally, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey. And if you remember one thing from this story, let it be this: never think that finances are a complicated or impossible game to understand. As long as you stick to the basics, you'll build a solid financial foundation. Take action today and start with small steps. You might not see results right away, but I assure you that if you stay patient, one day you'll look back and realize you've achieved things you once thought impossible. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that today's sharing has helped you realize that success is not something far out of reach. Sometimes it's just the small, persistent, and correct actions in managing finances, investing in the basics, that are laying a solid foundation for your future.